I always knew space travel would be a wild ride, but nothing could have prepared me for this. Picture this: an ancient spaceship with more duct tape than functioning parts, a crew consisting of a sarcastic AI, a kleptomaniac alien, and me, the only sane human. Oh, and did I mention we're exploring Uncharted Galaxies based on a guidebook written by a lunatic? Yeah, it's that kind of adventure. The day started like any other aboard the Stellar Reclamation, me trying to fix something while our AI Zark critiqued my technique. "Are you sure you want to use that wrench, Captain? It looks like it hasn't been used since the Big Bang," Zark quipped. "Zark, if I wanted your opinion, I'd ask for it." "Oh wait, I didn't," I shot back, wiping grease off my forehead. Just then, Vleep, our resident kleptomaniac alien, slithered in, holding what appeared to be a priceless artifact. "Look what I found. It's shiny and probably important." "Vleep, that's the ship's engine core. Put it back before we all die a horrible death," I sighed. With a reluctant groan, Vleep returned the core, and I went back to work, wondering how I ended up in this mess. That's when the guidebook fell off the shelf, landing with a thud at my feet. Its title, The Celestial Explorer's Guide to Uncharted Galaxies, glittered mockingly. "Well, here goes nothing," I muttered, flipping open to the first page. Little did I know, this was the start of an adventure that would redefine the word insane. Our first destination, according to the guidebook, was the aptly named Planet of the Pies. Zark, ever the skeptic, was not impressed. "Really, Captain? A planet dedicated to pies? This must be some sort of cosmic joke," Zark said dryly. "Hey, I didn't write the guidebook. Besides, who doesn't like pie?" I replied, setting the coordinates. The jump to hyperspace was rough as usual. Our ship rattled like a tin can in a hurricane, but we arrived in one piece. Barely. The planet was exactly as described: pie-shaped landscapes as far as the eye could see, with whipped cream mountains and cherry-filled valleys. Vleep was in heaven, of course. "Look at all the pies! Can I take some back to the ship?" Vleep asked, eyes wide with excitement. "As long as you don't touch anything explosive, be my guest," I said, already regretting it. We landed near a village made of gingerbread houses. The locals, small humanoid figures made of dough, greeted us warmly. One, introducing himself as Crumbleton, offered us a tour. "So you guys really live on pies?" I asked, trying to keep a straight face. "Yes, and it's a sweet life if you catch my drift," Crumbleton said with a wink. After a day of sampling various pies and narrowly avoiding a gelatinous monster that looked suspiciously like a giant Jell-O mold, we decided it was time to leave. Vleep had a cart full of pies, and Zark had managed to avoid a meltdown from the sheer absurdity of it all. "Next stop better be less sticky," Zark muttered as we launched back into space. Our next destination was a bit more serious. The guidebook described a mysterious asteroid belt said to contain ancient artifacts of immense power. Naturally, we were intrigued. "Asteroids with artifacts? Sounds like a treasure hunt," I said, punching in the coordinates. We arrived to find the asteroid belt swirling like a cosmic dance party. Dodging and weaving through the floating rocks, we eventually found a large, ominous-looking asteroid that seemed to be our destination. "Zark, scan for anything unusual," I commanded. "Besides the fact that we're trusting a guidebook that reads like it was written by a drunken space pirate?" "Sure," Zark retorted. The scans revealed a hidden entrance. We suited up and ventured inside, only to be greeted by a hologram of an old, grizzled space explorer. "Welcome, brave adventurers. You've found the resting place of the legendary Lost Socks," the hologram announced. "Lost socks? Are you kidding me?" I groaned. "Legend says these socks grant the wearer unparalleled luck and fortune," the hologram continued. Ignoring the absurdity, we pressed on, eventually finding a room filled with, no surprise here, socks. Vleep, naturally, started stuffing them into his bag. "Careful, Vleep, we don't want to set off any traps," I warned. Just then, a rumble shook the asteroid, lights flickered, and the hologram's eyes glowed red. "Intruders! Activate defense mechanisms!" it bellowed. We sprinted back to the ship, narrowly avoiding being crushed by falling rocks and dodging laser beams from ancient defense turrets. As we blasted off, Vleep held up a single sock triumphantly. "Got one!" he exclaimed. "Great, now we can be the luckiest idiots in the galaxy," I muttered, shaking my head. Our next stop was the Galactic Bizarre Bazaar, a space market famous for its strange and unusual wares. The guidebook promised we'd find something truly extraordinary. Zark remained skeptical, Extraordinary or extraordinarily useless, Zark grumbled as we docked. The bazaar was a sensory overload. Alien vendors shouted in a dozen languages. Holographic signs advertised everything from anti-gravity boots to interstellar pet rocks, and the smell of exotic foods filled the air. Keep an eye on Vleep. Last thing we need is him kleptoing something that'll get us thrown in a galactic jail, I told Zark. We wandered through the stalls, marveling at the oddities. One vendor tried to sell us a universal translator that looked suspiciously like a rusty old toaster. Another offered a time travel wristwatch that was stuck on 315. Look at this, Captain, Vleep called, holding up a small, glowing orb. The vendor, a shifty-looking creature with 3 eyes, grinned. Ah, the orb of infinite possibilities. It can grant your deepest desires. What's the catch? I asked, crossing my arms. No catch, just a small fee of 500 credits, the vendor replied. I glanced at Zark, who shook his head. It's probably a scam, Captain. But curiosity got the better of me. I handed over the credits, and the vendor handed me the orb. Back on the ship, we examined our purchase. The orb glowed brighter as I held it, and a voice echoed in my mind. Speak your desire, and it shall be granted. I thought for a moment, then said, I wish for the perfect space sandwich. A flash of light, and suddenly I was holding the most incredible sandwich I'd ever seen. Layers of alien meats and cheeses, fresh interstellar veggies, and a sauce that smelled divine. Okay, not bad, I admitted, taking a bite. It was delicious. But then the orb's glow faded and it crumbled to dust. One use only, huh? I said, shrugging. Well, at least you got a good sandwich out of it, Zark said, smirking. Our next adventure took us to the planet of the singing crystals. According to the guidebook, these crystals could harmonize with the cosmic frequencies and grant wisdom. Sounded legit. As we approached the planet, we received a distress signal from a stranded ship. It was a luxury space cruiser, and its captain, a pompous-looking fellow named Captain Farnsworth, was in desperate need of help. Thank the stars you've arrived. My ship's systems are failing, and I need immediate assistance, Farnsworth blustered over the comms. All right, let's see what we can do, I replied, already dreading the interaction. We docked and boarded the cruiser, which was more opulent than a royal palace. Crystal chandeliers, gold-plated walls, and a crew that looked like they hadn't worked a day in their lives. Impressive ship, Zark said. Shame it's run by a buffoon. As we worked on the repairs, Farnsworth hovered around, offering unsolicited advice and generally getting in the way. Are you sure you know what you're doing? He asked for the 10th time. Captain, if you don't let us work, we'll be here until the next galactic alignment, I snapped. Finally, we fixed the issue. A simple wiring problem that even Vleep could have handled. Farnsworth was overjoyed and insisted on giving us a reward. Here, take this rare gem from my personal collection, he said, handing over a sparkling blue stone. Thanks, Captain, I said, pocketing the gem. Let's get out of here before he finds another problem, I whispered to Zark. As we undocked, Zark analyzed the gem. Interesting. This appears to be a genuine singing crystal. Well, maybe Farnsworth isn't a complete waste of space, I said, setting course for our next destination. The guidebook's final entry was the most intriguing. It spoke of an ancient arena where the greatest warriors from across the galaxy competed for the title of Ultimate Champion. Naturally, we had to check it out. An arena? This is starting to sound like one of those old space opera dramas, Zark said. Better than the Pie Planet, I replied, setting the coordinates. We arrived at a colossal structure orbiting a dead star. The arena was packed with spectators from every corner of the galaxy. We were greeted by a booming voice. Welcome, challengers. Do you have what it takes to be the ultimate champion? I'm starting to regret this decision, I muttered. We were led to a waiting area where previous champions' holograms adorned the walls. Vleep was already trying to swipe a trophy when a stern-looking official stopped him. Theft is prohibited. If you're caught, you'll be ejected into space, the official warned. Vleep slithered back, sulking. Just looking, he muttered. Our first match was against a hulking alien with 4 arms and a bad attitude. The fight was intense, but we managed to outsmart him with some quick thinking and even quicker footwork. Round 1 goes to the newcomers, the announcer roared. The next few rounds were a blur of adrenaline and chaos. We faced off against warriors with all sorts of bizarre abilities. Teleportation, shape-shifting, and even one who could control plants. Why do I feel like we're in a really weird video game? I panted after another narrow victory. Finally, we reached the championship round. Our opponent was a seasoned warrior named Thrax, known for his ruthlessness. "Ready to lose, Earthlings?" Thrax sneered. "Bring it on, Thrax," I shot back, trying to sound more confident than I felt. The battle was fierce, but in the end, we managed to outmaneuver Thrax and claim victory. The crowd went wild as we were declared the ultimate champions. "Not bad for a bunch of misfits," Zark said as we accepted our trophy. Our final destination, according to the guidebook, was the edge of the universe. It promised a view unlike any other, a place where reality and imagination blurred. "Edge of the universe? Sounds like a load of space junk," Zark grumbled, but I could see the curiosity in his digital eyes. We set the coordinates and prepared for the jump. The ship shuddered and groaned, but held together as we hurtled through the cosmos. Finally, we emerged in a place that defied description. Colors beyond the spectrum of human sight swirled in a dance of cosmic energy. Stars formed and dissolved in the blink of an eye. It was beautiful, terrifying, and awe-inspiring all at once. "Wow," was all I could say. Even Zark was speechless for a moment. "Incredible," he finally admitted. Vleep, ever the pragmatist, was already taking selfies. "This will look great on Facebook." As we floated there, absorbing the majesty of the universe, I felt a sense of peace. Despite the absurdity, the chaos, and the danger, this journey had been worth it. "All right, team, time to head back," I said, breaking the spell. We set the course for home, the Stellar Reclamation humming with newfound energy. As we sped through the stars, I glanced at the guidebook one last time. Maybe that lunatic author knew what he was talking about after all, I mused. "Or maybe we're just the luckiest idiots in the galaxy," Zark replied. Either way, I knew one thing for sure. We'd be back for more. Back on Earth, I framed the guidebook's cover and hung it in the ship's lounge. It was a reminder of our insane, hilarious, and unforgettable journey. And who knows? Maybe one day we'll write our own guidebook, the Stellar Reclamation Crew's Guide to Surviving the Uncharted Galaxies. Until then, we'll keep exploring, laughing, and narrowly avoiding death. Because that's what makes life and space travel worth it.